The slap echoed down the marble hallway. Lily's hand flew to her stomach, and a sharp, searing pain radiated through her body. 4 months pregnant, she felt her baby jolt with terror. Her knees buckled slightly, and she stumbled, catching herself against the cold, polished wall. Every breath was shallow, almost painful, and the echo of her own heartbeat seemed deafening in the silent house. A maid stood in the corner, eyes wide, hands trembling. She had seen everything, yet she turned her gaze away, afraid to intervene. Lily's isolation had never felt so heavy. Evan's presence filled every corner of the house, his control invisible but suffocating. Even the air seemed to obey his unspoken rules. Evan's phone rang sharply. He answered with his usual calm authority, but the moment he heard about unauthorized cars entering his property, a flicker of unease crossed his face. Lily noticed the tiny crack in his armor, the first sign that his control might not be absolute. Dale, the head of security, stepped forward. "Sir, the visitors asked for Mrs. Blackwood by name," he said firmly. "Not you. They want her." Evan's jaw tightened. He turned to Lily, anger mixed with fear. It was a look she had never seen before. The man who had seemed untouchable now faced a reality he could not dominate. The leader of the group approached, calm and composed. "Are you injured, Mrs. Blackwood?" he asked. Lily looked down and realized blood had streaked her dress. Panic surged through her, but then something within her shifted. She straightened her shoulders, her voice firm despite trembling. "I didn't fall," she said, her eyes meeting Evan's. The words were simple but resolute, piercing the tension in the room. She would not let him rewrite reality. Dale stepped forward. "He slapped her, sir. I saw it," he said, voice steady, unwavering. The maid, shaking but finding courage, nodded. "Yes, he did. I saw it," she admitted. A medic moved closer, placing a hand gently on Lily's stomach. Her eyes widened as she detected the rapid, unmistakable heartbeat of her baby. Relief surged, a small light in the darkness of the moment. The man with the tablet stepped forward, showing call logs, NDA files, and a video clip from 15 minutes ago. "We have proof," he said. Every detail of Evan's abuse was documented. The leader displayed a federal badge. "We're here to ensure you do not return to Mr. Blackwood's house," he said, "and that your baby remains safe from his temper." Lily felt a mix of relief and disbelief. Her old name, Lillian Carter, had been known to them long before Evan had entered her life. A file had existed for years, watching, protecting, even when she didn't know it. Her phone, previously locked in Evan's safe, was returned. A text from an unknown number read, "We see you. When it's time, say it." Evan's voice came over the phone again, claiming she belonged to him. Lily's eyes hardened. "No," she said firmly, ending the call. The sound of authority and defiance rang in the room. Outside, black cars waited, engines humming softly. Lily was about to step into a new reality, free from Evan's control. She took a deep breath. Every step she had taken so far had led to this, the first step toward freedom. The paramedic's fingers pressed gently against Lily's wrist, counting the pulse with meticulous care. The room was tense, filled with the weight of Evan's presence that still lingered, though now he was losing it. Every shadow in the grand hallway seemed to stretch toward her, as if the walls themselves had witnessed the abuse. Lily's breaths were shallow, almost trembling, and each inhale carried the metallic tang of fear. She closed her eyes briefly and pressed her palm to her stomach. A sudden flutter reminded her of the life inside her, a tiny heartbeat that refused to be silenced. She focused on it, trying to ground herself in the reality of something precious, something alive, something hers. Outside the windows, the city lights glimmered faintly, but inside, time felt suspended. Evan's voice had tried to dominate the space just minutes ago, claiming her fall was an accident. Now, standing handcuffed and watched by agents, his authority crumbled. He shifted on his feet, a thin veneer of control dissolving with every second. The man with the tablet stepped closer, tapping the screen. "We have video from 15 minutes ago," he said evenly. The words carried weight. No longer could Evan hide behind lies or intimidation. The screen displayed him in motion, his hand raised against Lily. Every second, every angle, every expression was captured, a damning record. Lily's chest tightened as she watched. She didn't need the evidence to remember what happened, but hearing it spoken aloud, seeing it recorded, gave her a strange mix of validation and disbelief. For years, she had endured silently. For years, she had questioned her own memory, her own perceptions. Now the truth was undeniable. The leader of the agents crouched slightly, meeting her gaze. "You are safe now," he said softly. "You do not need to live in fear of him anymore." Lily's throat ached, and tears threatened to spill, but she blinked them back. She felt a strange combination of relief, exhaustion, and the faintest flicker of hope. She had survived so much, and now, maybe she could finally begin to breathe. Her mind drifted back to her father, the man who had disappeared to protect her. She remembered glimpses of him from childhood, his hands, calloused but gentle, the warmth of his voice, the way he had always seemed vigilant, always alert, until the day he was gone. For years, she had thought of it as abandonment, a loss she could never recover from. Now she realized it had been sacrifice, protection carried out in silence. The paramedic checked her vitals again, his tone calm but reassuring. "Baby is moving, heartbeat strong and steady." The words were a balm to her frayed nerves. Relief flowed through her, but it was mixed with lingering fear. Fear that Evan's shadow might stretch farther than she realized. She looked at the agents, their faces calm, precise, professional. You've been watching me?" she asked softly. The words were almost a whisper, tinged with awe and disbelief. "Yes," said the leader, "for years. Monitoring, protecting, ensuring your safety, even when you were unaware." The thought sank in slowly. Someone had cared, had acted in the shadows, had ensured she could survive this moment without even knowing it. Her world, once confined and oppressive, was suddenly broader, stranger, and filled with possibilities she had not dared imagine. The room remained still for a few long moments. Lily's phone buzzed softly. A text appeared on the screen. "We see you. When it's time, say it." She read it twice, her fingers trembling slightly. This was a connection, a thread to something larger than fear, larger than Evan's control. Evan's voice rang out again, claiming her, asserting dominion. "You belong to me!" Lily's jaw tightened. No, she would not be silenced, would not be owned. Her voice rang clear and firm. "No!" She ended the call, the click of the phone a sound of liberation. Outside, black cars waited like sentinels. Engines hummed softly, a promise of protection, but also a reminder. This was her escape, her moment to reclaim life. She walked slowly toward them, each step deliberate, a ritual of defiance. Evan was escorted, handcuffed, his face a mixture of rage and disbelief. For the first time, Lily saw him as he truly was, vulnerable, exposed, unable to touch her or her child. The power he had wielded for so long was gone, replaced by fear, the first true emotion he had shown in years. The maid, still trembling, approached Lily and spoke softly. I should have said something sooner." Lily turned, seeing fear in her eyes but no judgment, only understanding. "It's okay," she whispered. "We survived. That's what matters." She moved to the car, her hand resting lightly on her stomach. The tiny, insistent kicks reminded her that life continued, hers and the baby's. And for the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future not dictated by Evan's cruelty. The night air was cool, filled with distant city sounds. Lily inhaled slowly, deliberately, tasting freedom in every breath. The world outside was vast and uncertain, but it was hers to navigate. And in that moment, she realized something profound. The chains that had bound her for years were broken. Evan's control, her fear, the silent oppression of every day, all of it had been shattered. The road ahead was unknown. The challenges were real. But Lily Carter, Lillian, once trapped, now free, would walk it with her head held high. Her first step into the night felt heavy with consequence, but light with possibility. And she knew, finally, that she was not alone. The black cars moved slowly through the night streets. Lily sat quietly, her hands folded over her stomach. Every turn of the vehicle brought a mixture of relief and anxiety. The city lights flickered past the tinted windows, distant and unreal, like stars in a liquid sky. For years, she had lived in a fog of control. Every day had been mapped out by Evan, who she could see, what she could say, where she could go. Now, the rules were gone. The world was hers to navigate, and that terrified her more than anything else. Her thoughts drifted back to her father, the man she barely remembered, whose absence had haunted her entire life. The leader had shown her a photograph again, worn, faded, edges curled from time. Her father had looked strong, determined, but kind, and he had vanished to protect her. Lily pressed her fingers against her lips. He left to save me, she thought, and I never understood why. I thought he abandoned me, but he was always protecting me, even when I didn't know it. The leader noticed her reflection in the window. Your father's choices shaped everything we are doing tonight, he said softly. He made sure you would not face this alone, even if it took years to reach you. She swallowed hard. Years of fear and isolation pressed against her chest like a heavy stone. She thought of Evan, of every time he had raised his voice, slammed a door, or crossed a line she hadn't dared to name. She remembered the night she had first realized she couldn't trust anyone in the house. Not the staff, not her friends, not even herself. Now, for the first time, she realized the chain had been broken. The paramedic gently touched her arm. Baby is moving normally. Strong heartbeat, he said. Lily felt a flicker of hope. Tiny kicks, almost imperceptible, reminded her that life persisted. Not Evan's life, not his control, but their life, hers and the baby's. A soft buzz came from her phone. She hesitated, then checked the screen. Another message. We're here. We see you. You are not alone. A shiver ran through her. The words were simple, but they carried weight. For the first time, someone outside of Evan's world had been silently watching over her, not controlling her, not dictating her life, simply ensuring she could survive. The cars slowed as they approached a quieter neighborhood, filled with trees and dimly lit streets. The safe house appeared modest, unremarkable, almost invisible. Lily felt a strange sense of relief wash over her. It wasn't luxurious, but it was safe. Inside, the house smelled faintly of wood polish and quiet preparation. Blankets and food had been arranged neatly. Documents were laid out on a table. Her identity files, protections, legal papers, old photographs, everything she needed to rebuild. Lily ran her fingers over the papers, tracing lines and names. Each one was a reminder of what had been done for her, of the silent vigilance that had existed for years. She realized she had been living two lives, one under Evan's control and one quietly protected by people she had never met. Her thoughts returned to the present. She had escaped Evan tonight. He had been handcuffed, powerless, and exposed. And yet, the relief she felt was tempered with exhaustion and the sharp edge of fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of the responsibility she now carried. The leader spoke softly. You will need to rest, recover, and take time to understand everything. There will be challenges, but you are not alone. She nodded, almost imperceptibly, feeling a mix of gratitude and apprehension. Alone, she sat in the living room, letting the silence wrap around her. The baby shifted, a tiny flutter against her hand, and she whispered, "We are safe now. We can breathe." For the first time in years, Lily allowed herself to imagine a life beyond fear, a life where she could make choices, speak freely, and protect the child she carried. Outside, the night was quiet. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. A car passed. The world continued, unhurried, indifferent to the dramas that had dominated her life. But inside her chest, a new rhythm began to emerge. Courage, hope, determination, the kind of strength that had lain dormant, buried beneath years of submission and fear. She thought of Evan one last time, angry, defeated, powerless. And she felt no pity, only clarity. "This is not my life anymore," she told herself. "I am choosing. I am free. I will protect us." The safe house offered anonymity and protection, but also a challenge: to rebuild, to reclaim her life fully, to step into a world she had only glimpsed in dreams, never touched. And as she sat there, feeling the soft kick of her unborn child, Lily knew one thing for certain: she would not be controlled again. Not by Evan, not by fear, not by the past. She was finally, undeniably, free. The black car rolled to a stop in front of the safe house. The building looked ordinary, almost unremarkable. A small garden with neatly trimmed shrubs, warm light spilling from the windows. Nothing like the grand estate she had left behind. But tonight, ordinary felt like a gift. Lily's hands rested lightly on her stomach as she stepped out. The night air was cool and calm, a stark contrast to the storm of the past hours. She took a deep breath, inhaling freedom and tasting it like something she had never truly known before. Inside, the house was quiet. Soft lighting highlighted the simplicity of the rooms. Blankets were folded neatly, food arranged on the counter, a small stack of documents laid out carefully. Every detail whispered preparation, care, and thoughtfulness. She ran her fingers along the table, tracing the edges of files and photographs, each one a fragment of a life she had yet to reclaim. One of the agents approached her quietly. "Everything has been prepared for you," he said softly. "We wanted to make this space calm, a place to recover." Lily nodded, her throat tight. I don't even know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," he replied. "Just take your time. You've been through a lot." She walked slowly through the rooms, absorbing the stillness. Each one held the promise of a new life, not dictated by Evan's anger, not controlled by fear. She could fill these spaces with her own choices, her own memories, and for the first time in years, that thought made her feel light, almost untethered. Sitting by the window, she allowed herself to reflect. The safe house was more than protection. It was a reminder that her life did not belong to Evan, that she had survived his violence, his manipulation, and that survival was only the beginning. Her mind wandered to the files the leader had shown her earlier. Years of documentation, protective orders, surveillance, everything connected to her father. He had vanished to protect her. He had ensured someone would watch over her, even if she didn't know it. A memory flashed suddenly. Her father holding her small hand in a crowded kitchen, warning her about strangers with gentle eyes. She had been too young to understand, too naive to comprehend the weight of his words. Now, the meaning hit her with a sharp clarity. He had acted out of love and foresight. The leader's voice brought her back. "We will guide you when necessary," he said. "But your life is yours now. Your choices, your decisions, everything is yours to claim." Lily felt the truth of it settle deep inside her. Her body had carried fear for too long. Now her mind could carry hope. And with hope came responsibility. the responsibility to protect herself, to protect her child, to live freely. She opened one of the documents, old photographs of her father, letters she had never seen, legal documents detailing protections she didn't know existed. Each piece was a revelation, a thread connecting her to the life her father had wanted her to have. A flicker of fear returned as she realized the magnitude of her freedom. Evan was gone. Yes. But the world outside these walls was vast, unpredictable. And yet she felt ready, because she had survived what she thought was insurmountable. The paramedic entered quietly, checking her vitals again. "Everything is stable," he said, his voice gentle. Lily felt the baby move, tiny but insistent, reminding her that life continued, resilient and unyielding. Hours passed as she settled into the space. She organized her thoughts, touched the files, read letters, and slowly allowed herself to imagine the future. She pictured her child growing up in safety, in love, free from the shadow that had loomed over her life for so long. She paused, staring out the window at the dimly lit street. Somewhere beyond these walls, Evan's empire had crumbled, his control dismantled piece by piece. And she realized the fear that had once been her constant companion was no longer hers to bear. Lily pressed her hands to her stomach, feeling the baby shift, a soft reminder of hope and life. "We will be safe," she whispered. "I promise." The night continued quietly, punctuated only by soft footsteps of agents moving through the house. Their presence was protective but unobtrusive, allowing her to feel the first true sense of autonomy in years. She allowed herself a small, tentative smile. The walls of fear had fallen, the chains of control had broken, and though the path ahead was unknown, Lily Carter, once Lillian, once trapped, felt, for the first time, truly free. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees. The night held possibilities, and inside, Lily began to imagine a life fully her own. Morning light filtered softly through the blinds, casting warm stripes across the room. Lily awoke slowly, stretching, her hands immediately resting on her stomach. The baby shifted, a small but unmistakable kick, and a wave of tenderness washed over her. For the first time in years, she did not feel the weight of fear pressing down on her chest. She rose carefully and walked toward the table where the documents had been laid out. Letters, photographs, protective orders, legal papers, each one told a story she had never fully known. She picked up a photograph of her father again, tracing the edges with her fingers. His eyes, kind and resolute, seemed to look directly at her. A memory surfaced. The day he had disappeared. She had been too young to understand, too naive to grasp the magnitude of his choice. But now, as she studied the worn photograph, clarity emerged. He had vanished not to abandon her, but to safeguard her from forces she could not yet comprehend. The leader of the team entered quietly. "Good morning, Mrs. Carter," he said. "We've arranged everything so you can begin to reclaim your life." Lily nodded, her eyes lingering on a stack of folders. I want to understand," she said softly. "Everything." He gestured toward the folders. "Take your time, read, absorb, ask questions. We will guide you when needed." She began sifting through the papers, carefully reading each line. Legal protections, surveillance reports, old correspondence. Names she had never known, dates she had never understood, all connected to a hidden network that had ensured her safety. It was overwhelming, but empowering. Her thoughts drifted to Evan, handcuffed, powerless, stripped of control. She felt no fear now, only a steely resolve. She realized that the life she would build now depended on vigilance, planning, and understanding. Not fear, not obedience, not silence. Hours passed as she studied. Occasionally, she paused, letting her mind wander. The baby kicked again, reminding her that life persisted, resilient and insistent. She whispered softly, We're safe now. I'll protect you. I promise. She looked around the room, noticing details she had not before. The simplicity of the safe house was comforting. Neat furniture, soft blankets, organized spaces. Nothing ostentatious, nothing imposing. Just functionality and care. A place to recover, to breathe, to rebuild. A flashback struck her suddenly. Evenings spent in Evan's house, pretending everything was fine while her heart pounded with anxiety. Each lie, each forced smile, each moment of silence had been a thread in a web of control. And now she could see clearly how fragile it had all been. Lily took a deep breath, grounding herself in the present. This was her world now. She could move, speak, think freely. She could plan her future. And most importantly, she could protect the life growing inside her. Her phone buzzed again. A message appeared. Remember, you are never alone. When it is time, act. She stared at it for a moment, then nodded. It was a reminder that while freedom came with responsibility, she had allies, unseen but steadfast. By midday, she had organized the documents, creating a timeline of her life, her father's protection, and Evan's abuse. Each entry, each note, each photograph reinforced a truth she had only recently embraced. She was no longer powerless. Lily stood by the window, watching the sunlight play across the garden outside. Somewhere beyond these walls, life went on. People moved, cars passed, leaves rustled in the wind. And yet here she was, finally able to choose, to act, to reclaim what had been taken from her. Her thoughts drifted to the baby again. Tiny, growing, a new life that represented everything she would fight for. She touched her stomach gently, feeling the rhythmic flutter that was a promise of resilience, hope, and continuity. The leader entered once more. "Are you ready to take the next steps?" he asked. Lily looked around the room, at the documents, the safe house, the small comfort of order and care, and nodded slowly. "Yes," she said. "I'm ready." For the first time in years, she felt the weight of possibility settle over her. Not fear, not doubt, possibility. And as she took a deep breath, feeling the life within her stir, she knew one truth above all. She would never allow fear or control to define her again. The next morning, Lily awoke to a quiet, deliberate calm. The safe house hummed with subtle activity. Agents moving silently through the rooms, preparing for contingencies, monitoring the outside world. It was a rhythm she had never known. Precise, organized, protective. She sat by the window again, staring at the faint light spilling across the garden. For a long moment, she simply breathed, letting herself feel the stillness. The freedom was new, almost overwhelming, but also intoxicating. For years, her body had reacted to fear reflexively. Now, she had to learn to react to life, to choice, to possibility. The leader entered, holding a folder. "We've organized everything you need to understand your situation and the protections in place. You will want to study these carefully." Lily took it, feeling the weight of its contents. Legal documents, surveillance logs, old photographs, correspondence. Each piece formed a puzzle, connecting her father's foresight with her present reality and the plan to keep her safe. As she read, memories flooded back. Childhood mornings when her father had whispered warnings. Evenings when he had left quietly, returning late with tense eyes. Nights when she had waited, wondering why he disappeared. He had always known she would need protection, even if she could not understand the method. Now, she understood, and she felt a strange mixture of gratitude, sorrow, and determination. The agent who had escorted her yesterday stood nearby. "You will have guidance," he said, "but these decisions are yours. We will not control your life. We only ensure you are safe to live it." Lily nodded slowly. The weight of responsibility pressed on her shoulders. She was no longer a passive participant. She had to act, to make choices, to reclaim not just her body and home, but her life. Hours passed as she pored over the documents. She made notes, highlighted important information, cross-referenced dates and names. Slowly, a pattern emerged, a web of connections she had never known, evidence of Evan's manipulations, the extent of surveillance, and the years of her father's silent planning. She leaned back, rubbing her eyes, and felt the baby move. A soft flutter that reminded her she was not alone, that she carried life with her, that every decision she made now was for more than herself. The leader returned, placing a map on the table. "We want to plan your next steps carefully," he said. "The goal is to ensure you never return to the past, to build a life where fear does not define you." Lily traced the lines of streets, safe houses, and routes. Her mind worked quickly, absorbing every detail. For years, she had been blind to control and manipulation. Now she was beginning to see patterns, threats, and paths to safety. Her thoughts drifted to Evan again. Handcuffed, powerless, yet a shadow lingered. The memory of his eyes, his anger, his failed control still haunted her. But now she faced it armed with knowledge, allies, and resolve. She would not be afraid. She would not be manipulated. The day wore on as agents provided training, basic self-defense, digital safety, situational awareness. Lily absorbed it all, mentally preparing for a world that was simultaneously safe and dangerous. She was learning to trust her instincts, to recognize threats, and to act decisively. During a quiet moment, she sat alone, thinking about the life she had left behind, the lavish estate, the silent screams, the dinners where she smiled while heart-pounding. Every memory was a lesson, a reminder of what freedom truly meant. Her phone buzzed again. A message. "You are stronger than you know. Your time to act is coming." She read it, feeling a mix of apprehension and courage. The words were simple, but their weight was enormous. Someone had watched over her, unseen, for years, and now it was time to act. Evening fell. Lily watched the shadows stretch across the garden. She could feel the baby stir, tiny movements that were a promise of life and hope. A smile touched her lips. For the first time in years, she felt she was not just surviving, she was living, preparing to thrive. She stood, stretching, and took a slow walk around the safe house. Each step was deliberate, a ritual of reclaiming space, reclaiming autonomy, reclaiming life. The past was behind her, but the lessons remained, and she would carry them, not as burdens, but as tools to shape the future. The leader approached again. "Tomorrow, we will begin the next phase," he said, "planning, preparation, and securing every step forward." Lily nodded, feeling the first true sense of agency in her life. She had survived Evan's control. She had escaped. She had protection, guidance, and knowledge. And now she would take the next steps, carefully, deliberately, bravely. As she gazed out into the night, she felt the weight of possibility, responsibility, and life itself. And in that quiet, she made a vow. She would protect herself, her child, and the life she was building. No fear, no past control, no manipulation would ever touch her again. And somewhere deep inside, she felt a spark of exhilaration. The world was hers to navigate, and she was finally ready. The morning light filtered softly through the safe house blinds, casting gentle patterns on the floor. Lily rose slowly, stretching, feeling the steady, insistent movements of her baby. Each kick was a reminder that life continued, resilient, undeterred. She placed a hand on her stomach, closing her eyes briefly, feeling a surge of determination and love. The leader entered with a calm, deliberate air. "Today marks a new phase," he said. planning, securing, and ensuring you can move forward fully. Lily nodded. Her mind was clear. The past, with Evan's control, his anger, his lies, was behind her. She would carry the lessons learned, but they would be tools, not chains. She spent the morning reviewing files, letters, and surveillance data once more. Each detail reinforced her understanding: her father's foresight, the agent's long-term monitoring, and the steps necessary to keep herself and her child safe. She traced paths on maps, made notes, and considered contingencies. Every action, every decision, she took with deliberation. As she worked, memories returned. Quiet dinners under Evan's glare, moments of silent terror, apologies that felt hollow, nights of isolation. She had endured them all, but now she was armed with knowledge, allies, and a fierce, growing courage. By midday, she had formulated her first independent plan: secure her identity fully, establish safe routines, and begin to interact with the outside world on her own terms. No one would dictate her movements or decisions ever again. The agents observed quietly, offering guidance only when necessary. Their presence was a shield, not a leash. It was a foreign feeling at first: safety without confinement, protection without control. But Lily embraced it. She took a break and walked to the window, staring out at the garden. The wind moved gently through the trees, carrying the faint scent of flowers. Somewhere beyond these walls, life went on. Cars passed, people walked, and the world existed, vast and unknowable. And for the first time in years, Lily felt part of it, not trapped by it. Her phone buzzed with a new message. "Your time is coming. Act with confidence. You are ready." She read it and felt a thrill of clarity. She had endured fear, abuse, and manipulation. She had escaped. She had guidance and protection. And now, she was ready to reclaim her life fully, on her own terms. Her thoughts returned to Evan. Handcuffed, powerless, his reign over her life shattered. She felt no anger, only clarity. He was a chapter of her past, and she would not allow it to define her future. The leader spoke again. "Are you ready to move forward, Mrs. Carter?" Lily nodded slowly, feeling the weight of her decision. "Yes," she said firmly. "I'm ready." They guided her through the next steps, registering her protection, ensuring safe communications, and confirming all legal measures. Each action reinforced her autonomy. She was no longer a passive participant in her life. She was an architect. As evening fell, she prepared to leave the safe house for the first time under her own choice. The black vehicles waited, silent guardians in the dim light. She packed only what she needed, leaving behind the remnants of fear and oppression. Before stepping out, she placed her hand on her stomach, feeling the baby stir. "We are free," she whispered. "And we will stay that way." The journey through the driveway felt symbolic. Each step away from the house, from the shadow of Evan, a reclamation of space, of autonomy, of identity. She did not look back. Inside the car, she settled, the soft hum of the engine reassuring. Outside, the world awaited, full of challenges, full of unknowns, but hers to navigate. She held her child's life close to her, a beacon of strength and purpose. The leader spoke softly. "From here, you will chart your own path. We will remain available, but your life is yours." Lily nodded, feeling a profound sense of completion. Years of fear, years of control, years of uncertainty, all behind her. She exhaled slowly, deeply, feeling the final weight of oppression lift. As the car moved into the night, the safe house faded behind her. The stars above shone bright and steady. Lily Carter, once trapped, once silenced, was now free, and she would never let anyone or anything take that freedom away again. She pressed a hand to her stomach, whispering, "We're safe. We're alive, and we will thrive. For the first time in her life, Lily allowed herself to truly imagine the future. A life filled with choice, love, and protection. A life where she could breathe freely, laugh without fear, and grow stronger with each passing day. And as the black car carried her into the night, Lily felt it. The full weight of liberation, the quiet thrill of autonomy, and the unwavering certainty that her life, her child's life, belonged to her and her alone. The world awaited, and she was ready.